late afternoon sunlight crawling up my bedroom wall. Quiet house, I hear the washing machine hum somewhere down the hall. There were Sundays when I'd sit by the screen door, watching dust dance in a golden line. Mom folding towels, soft voice saying not to rush, that time unwinds on its own. Some days I wondered if hearts could really open just by listening. Those summer evenings, I couldn't say what I meant, words hiding deep in a tangled place. She'd smile, pat my arm, say feelings grow brave with years. You don't have to rush to be understood. It took a long time to learn silence wasn't empty. Waiting held its own gentle kind of truth. The first time a boy called me pretty, I laughed like I was pretending not to hear. Afraid he'd see every awkward shyness I was too young to name, so I looked away and hoped he'd wait. So many questions I let slip by, catching only what I could carry, wanting always to get it right, stumbling into kindness by accident. But life was always in between lines and glances, hands reaching quietly across the kitchen table. Every secret I kept trying to untangle. I learned the shape of love in the way she never demanded the answer. If I found myself at the edge of a feeling, I could pause, breathe, step over gently in my own time. And in the hush after a story, I realized longing was part of becoming, not a thing to solve or silence. We talked sometimes by lamplight, voices softly overlapping, never quite settling who felt what first. Every "how are you?" heavier than it sounded, sometimes the hardest thing to answer with honesty. Friends on the playground drew invisible borders, sometimes letting me in, sometimes not. It was easy to believe I needed to be different, gentler, less full of questions that stayed behind my mouth. Watching older cousins dance slow at weddings, I wished romance wasn't such a distant language. I grew to notice the space where fear lives, between needing comfort and letting someone close. Sometimes the lesson was in not knowing and letting friendships stumble forward with fits and starts. Growing up is watching the world make room for your stumbles, forgiving yourself when you can't. She taught me stories pass quietly from one heart to another, not always as wisdom, just as warmth. And if I mistook curiosity for love or hesitation for rejection, gentle reminders showed me how meaning drifts inside the things we don't say. All those afternoons pressing dandelions onto notebook pages, believing a small heartbreak would last all summer. Hands reached for softly, always a little afraid to say too much and lose something gentle. I learned boundaries aren't always spoken, but given and held like a fragile secret between breaths. I remember sitting with my own reflection, trying to trace who I was becoming in the hush of twilight. Momma never promised I'd have all the right words, only that honesty grows slow as ivy finding sunlight. The ache for closeness didn't vanish, it just grew quieter, threading itself into songs I hummed alone. Some lessons arrive as heartbeats, others as kindness from strangers who don't ask for anything but your smile. There's a peace to letting go of answers, trusting that awkward questions are themselves an invitation. Now I see love written in the pauses, what I couldn't say then, I keep learning to say now. Years years later, I still search for comfort in the hush after dusk. What I couldn't find words for, I paint in the space between held hands and patient silences. Every lesson softer than I expected, never easy, but always carrying me home. If love is anything, it's a door left ajar on a summer evening, with the promise that it's okay to arrive slowly. I walk quietly through growing up, holding a collection of gentle truths that slip from memory to memory. Soft glow across the floorboards, the echo of voices that never needed to be loud, just sincere. No final answers, only an open window, a breeze that carries all the things I'm still learning to say.